One thing that we reviewed in 2020 was Adventures in Dinosaur City. Another thing that we reviewed in 2020, movie called Pod People and Adventures in Dinosaur City. One other thing that we reviewed in 2020, The Man Who Knew Too Little, Return of E.T. and Adventures in Dinosaur City. Another thing that we reviewed in 2020, Acrimony, The Man Who Knew Too Little, Extraterrestrial Visitors and Adventures in Dinosaur City. Another film that we reviewed in 2020, the movie called Scoob, Acrimony, The Man Who Knew Too Little, Pod People, and Adventures in Dinosaur City. Another thing that we reviewed in 2020, The Running Man, that movie Scoob. Tyler Perry's Acrimony, The Man Who Knew Too Little, a movie called Pod People, and Adventures in Dinosaur City. Something else that we'll review later this month in 2020, the Star Wars Holiday Special, The Running Man, that bad film Scoob. Acrimony, The Man Who Knew Too Little, and of course Pod People and Adventures in Dinosaur City. Something else that we reviewed in 2020, The Living Daylight Star Wars Holiday Special, The Running Man, Bad Mistake Scoob. Acrimony, The Man Who Knew Too Little, Extraterrestrial Visitors, and Adventures in Dinosaur City. Something else that we reviewed in 2020, a movie called Rhinestone, The Living Daylight Star Wars Holiday Special, The Running Man, that piece of Scoob. Acrimony, The Man Who Knew Too Little, a movie called Pod People, and Adventures in Dinosaur City. Something else that we reviewed in 2020, Jaws 3D, Rhinestone, The Living Daylight, Star Wars Holiday Special, The Running Man, that terrible Will Forte Scoob. Acrimony, The Man Who Knew Too Little, Return of E.T., and Adventures in Dinosaur City. Something else that we reviewed in 2020, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jaws 3D, Rhinestone, The Living Daylight, Star Wars Holiday Special, The Running Man, that horrible Scoob. Tyler Perry's Acrimony, The Man Who Knew Too Little, Pod People, and Adventures in Dinosaur City. One final thing that we reviewed in 2020, a movie called Spy Mate, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jaws 3D, Rhinestone the Living Daylights, Star Wars Holiday Special, I Own It, The Running Man, That Terrible Scoob, Tyler Perry's Acrimony, The Man Who Knew Too Little, Pod People, and Adventures in Dinosaur City. Now here's a December review.
Hi, I'm Kay. We're going to review a movie from our library.
Hi, my name is Justin, and I personally found this movie padded and lazy.
Not as good as the other two, but anyway, we're going to get through it.
I personally thought this movie was loaded and full of it,
Okay, you have probably no clue what we may be talking about, but we're talking about The Grinch.
which sadly was probably written in a 3-minute writer's pinch.
Yep, anyway, so you probably know a little bit about the Grinch story and how he does not like Christmas.
And if Santa, I'm sure if he saw this movie, would write a very long naughty list.
Yeah, there were some on it, wasn't there? Hmm. Okay, anyway, it takes place. The Grinch is living in his cave in the mountain, and we have Whoville getting ready for the festivities
With Benedict Cumberbatch's voice not fitting in at all, buddy.
as the Grinch. And the narration by,
For Pharrell Williams, which just makes you want to cry.
yep. So, anyway, we start the story. Um, Cindy, Cindy Lou Wu, and you think she's only got one friend, but it turns out there's like four of them.
Actually, her name is Cindy Lou Who, and she has a mommy problem.
Yeah. So it also starts showing the Grinch, and as you're going up the mountain, he's got all these signs like "Leave me alone," "Don't enter," "Go away," all these signs outside his door of the cave.
But yet he complains about being lonely. Give me a break.
Okay. So then he wakes up, and his alarm clock is tuned to Christmas music.
Pick a AM talk radio and then you won't hear that
So he starts throwing
bit.
things at it, and he knocks it down, but it plays again. I think it plays the next morning too.
Which means he recovered it to hit it again with another shoe.
So as he wakes up, then he rings one of the bells on his wall, and that signals to Max.
Max gets him coffee, and then you see him in his tidy whities, which I now need brain wax.
Yep, got to wash those eyes out. Yep. Okay. So then he gets his coffee and then he comes down to breakfast and he's like, "What is this?" And
I don't remember, so this part for me is a huge mess.
so then Max barks and then he's like, "Wait, where's my stash?"
Include including his enjoyable collection of Who hash.
So then he realizes they are out of groceries. So he has to go dreaded down to Whoville.
Because he's been binge eating because he's sad and he's lonely. Moron is on. This film is borderline unwatchable.
So then Max gets the, what was a wagon? I think it was a wagon, right?
I'm pretty sure, and then he decides to visit the city in daylight.
Yeah, and he's weaving around people. And then you see these carolers singing towards him, and they keep walking to him, follow him.
He's not supposed. He's supposed to be feared by everybody, but they just get rid of that silly little thing on a whim.
So he finally gets into the grocery store. Max is in, they close the door. So he's going around the wall and he's just like grabbing and putting into the wagon.
Including pickle puking.
Yeah, he tastes a pickle. He didn't like it, so he puts it in another lady's shopping cart.
I can relate, kind of like me eating garlic pickles. Not idea was not very smart.
Mhm. So then he looks at this lady trying to grab something from the top shelf. He looks at it and she says, "Are you going to buy that?"
He then puts it away and then knocks the shelf, causing it to go splat.
Hmm. So then he gets everything and he's headed out the door and going back. While this is going on, then you've got Lucy Lou or Cindy Lou. Sorry, folks. Sorry. Cindy Lou scheming and trying to find out. She wants to write a letter to Santa.
It's Cindy Lou Who, and I I kind of spoiled why Fa la 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 la.
So she tells her mom she can't stay to help and that she gets on like a inner tube with a hockey stick behind her and goes down the hill.
She's not, she's significantly older than two. You can tell this movie is not going to end well.
So then she runs into the Grinch.
Who she recognizes because
In a
the
pinch.
writers the writers needed a way out of this Finch.
Good call, good call. So then she finally, her letter, she loses it when she comes down. She runs into him, and the letter just floats down and lands at her feet.
She has no reaction. Thank you for not making me rhyme with Grinch. That idea was very sweet.
You're welcome. So as he's going out of town, then this character by Keenan Thompson, who owns a house that goes overboard on decorations, has this flyer from the mayor.
Christmas has to be 3 times bigger. And he delivers it in usual Kenan Thompson meh flavor.
So the Grinch is like laughing, like, really, 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 ha ha ha, mayor.
Oh, we forgot to mention, Kenan Thompson's character is bragging about the chocolate thunder beard color.
That
Or
is
color of his beard.
that his wife likes. Yeah.
So go to bed at night remembering that right there.
So all the Grinch wants to do is get back up to the cave and get away from all of Whoville.
But you know that's not going to happen because we have to pad this out for another half hour, and obviously not very well.
Yeah. So anyway, he does finally make it. He's got hills to go up, cross the bridge, cross the river, past the ice skating park.
What part are you talking about?
When he's going back to his cave. They have all the guys, the little girl gets the decoration, the wreath, and then he attaches somebody to something and they go flying, and they got the trucks coming through, the big Christmas tree.
A majority of that happened when he was going to get grocery.
Oh, I thought it was on his way while he was in town. Okay, anyway, so are we ready to go back to the cave?
Yes, that way this review will be saved.
Okay, so here we go back to the cave, and I don't even know how the things get put away. I don't know, they just automatically get stored in the kitchen.
Max probably does everything.
And then he comes up with this brainy idea. I need to be like Santa Claus. I can steal Christmas. They don't need Christmas.
You should probably talk about the scene that happens prior to this.
Would you like to shed light on that? Or are we talking about Cindy Lou who wants to capture Santa?
I think talking about him being around the tree and explaining his backstory might be a better plan.
Okay, so we get a glimpse of why the Grinch does not like Christmas. He was in an orphanage, and there hadn't seemed to be anybody around, no Christmas decorations, no toys, no feast, nothing. And so it was a very gloomy time for him.
Which makes absolutely no sense. Atheists would celebrate Christmas more than them.
But it made you feel like who was taking care of him? Why was there no food? Why was there no decorations? Why wouldn't they celebrate Christmas? Just a very sad time for him. And that was why he did not like it.
Also, Pharrell Williams' narration doesn't really help, not even a little bit.
Okay, so now are we getting back to his learning how to be Santa to steal Christmas? Or are we still missing something?
We should talk about the tree lighting. Ing.
How the whole city came out to stand around the tree and the mayor, and he was going to try to ruin it with a huge snowball and a slingshot? That one?
Except he accidentally launches himself, and then in the middle of the tree while it's being brightly lit, he
He's
sees spots.
he's in the middle of the tree. And then he starts bawling. Yeah, kind of really embarrassing.
Now we can talk about him wanting Christmas to be not happening.
To be over. He wanted to steal all their joy and happiness.
And also all of their toys with one simple list.
Hmm. So, what he did is he got out his book to learn about Santa Claus and Christmas.
Why he would have that book when he hates the holiday is anybody's guess.
Right. So, he had Max be a stand there while he created the Santa and the beard and the hat.
I really think that a majority of the movie maybe should have focused on something other than that.
What, the fig pudding, the ornaments, the Christmas trees, the music, everything else?
I was thinking more of when he steals the presents from house to house.
Hmm. But after reading the book, he knew that Santa with his sleigh had reindeer. That was how they would get down and get back.
And then in a good Grinch movie would have sneered very evilly at Max.
Mm, yes, he would have. And Max would not have been excited to pull a sleigh. So they go down to a field, and there are a lot of reindeers.
Ex- Except this time, Max is overwhelmed, overjoyed, and gladly full of cheer.
But he wasn't that until after Fred. Okay. So all of
Af
these.
took his spot, and the Grinch apologized.
So Fred is a moose. He was the only one that stayed in the field. And so the Grinch roped him like he was a cowboy. And then the moose pulled him through everything. And so he thought, oh, he'll be really good. So then they see if he can pull the sleigh.
Which he can do, but he also makes better coffee than Max that day.
Oh, yeah. He moved into Grinch's cave.
He also moved into the bed and flattened him.
Yeah, it was a little bit crowded. Max was in bed, and
Take
then
that anyway.
yeah, and then Fred lays there with them. He's all nice and cozy. He was happy that somebody needed him for something.
He was Illumination's way to increase their bottom line.
Oh, maybe that's a good point. Good point.
Clearly, he was made to sell toys at Insert Toy Joint.
Hmm. So then here it is, Christmas Eve. The day they're getting all ready, got the sleigh ready, got everything ready. And then, long behold, who comes along?
Fred's family, which just shows how little importance Fred was and how that character was anything but strong.
But the Grinch let him go. He let him go with his family. He showed kindness.
His heart was supposed to be 3 sizes too small. Did they even read the book before writing this?
I don't know. So then he offers it to Max. And this is where you said Max was so elated and happy.
He also dreamed of driving a car to Mambo number 5, which visual gag, I guess it was a little witty.
So here he goes. He goes from house to house. He goes down the chimneys. He pulls out their decorations. He takes their toys. He even takes their trees.
This should have been a majority of the movie. However, like the Lorax, this is done. What the main focus should have been is done in almost immediately.
Hmm. But then he gets to the house of Cindy Lou, and long behold, she wakes up when she hears him on the roof.
The prancing and pawing of, I don't know, a dog hoof?
So then nobody knew what Santa Claus looked like. So she wasn't sure if this was him or not.
Except that book did, ruining what you just said on the spot.
Yep. So then she's like, he says, run along, go back to bed so I can leave you a toy. I don't want a toy.
His excuses is that he's replacing a light bulb. You remember this part of the movie? Oi?
So then Cindy Lou says, I want help from my mommy.
Basically, she wants a stepdaddy.
So she goes off to bed, and when she awakes, well, he goes from house to house and finishes up.
In a good Grinch movie, he would have even stolen something from a mouse.
Then he gets to the last house. The last house was Keaton Thompson's house. He's got all of the decorations outside the house, and he's trying to get up to the roof to get them. And Keaton Thompson has a little dog also.
Kenan Thompson's house was at the beginning.
He went to that house first. I thought it was
Yes,
at the end going back up the mountain. I apologize, folks, if I got that messed up.
he
So
knew
just do a switch.
he had to be on a schedule before all things were wrapped up.
Hmm. Then when he got it all wrapped up, it was morning time, and here he is going back up to the cave. And long behold, here comes Fred again to help save the day.
What
Remember?
you're talking about is towards the end of the film, okay?
Yeah, after he stole everything out of everybody's houses.
I'm talking about after that. You're really confused with your not wearing a blouses.
But when he got back up to the cliff of the cave, they couldn't get the sleigh up, and here comes Fred and his son to help pull the sleigh up. Remember, because it was so full.
You're thinking about after his heart had grown 3 sizes bigger, and he was going to return them to all of the Who's in Whoville.
Okay, then fill me in on the part that I'm messing up.
He quickly takes the gifts away, puts them in the cave to save for a rainy day.
Hmm. As all the families start waking up, and there are no decorations, no tree, and no presents.
They decide it's, I don't know, what the heck was this movie's life lesson?
Cindy Lou's mom said, it doesn't matter about the presents and everything, Christmas is in here.
They then sing Bahoo Rari, Wahoo Rari, which someone green hears.
Mm. And then he's starting to think and have a conscience.
Which is weird because he's done that throughout the entire in several film sequences.
Okay, so do you want to finish up the movie?
The movie honestly doesn't seem to care. It takes the main focus and throws it out the window over there. It's extremely odd, it's extremely silly, it's extremely odd, and it's extremely lame. It's almost as if the book didn't even matter and this is made in only name. It's extremely bizarre, it's extremely confusing. I personally am not sure who this audience was for, and not to mention the smiling Grinch marketing. The Grinch is supposed to be evil. Please remember that. Please remember before you make. Well, you couldn't really do much worse than Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat.
Hmm.
Have him be angry the entire film through. Don't you remember? You did that with Gru. Maybe, maybe take a step. Maybe think about it. Maybe take a step back. Maybe make the creature angry, like you did with the Lorax.
Hmm.
Cindy Lou did. Let me tell you something about Cindy Lou Who. She doesn't need to walk to the North Pole, and she doesn't need to sled on an inner tube. I really understand you have to make this kids full of joy, but maybe you could do a little more than making her a Despicable Me clone that's a borderline tomboy. Let me ask let me ask you this. Among so many others, do you even know the name of her two brothers?
Mm-mm.
The movie ends exactly how you know. The Grinch's heart decides to grow. Even though he seemed to be nice pretty much the whole way through, he decides to return the gifts, thinking that's exactly what he should do. And then, just on the second that he decides to do this, he then gets broke. He then, the top of the mountain breaks off like a cliff. Let me t- let me tell you something, and it might seem a little silly. This is the moment when Fred tries to save him, along with his son, wife, so basically his family. He then goes down, and as you can tell, he returns the presents and apologizes to Whoville. He then gets invited to go have a feast, and he even gets to be, as usual, gets to slice that roast beast.
You wore a tie. Well, but he was invited
Half
by
of the
Lucy Lou went up the mountain to the cave and invited him to their Christmas dinner.
Her name is Cindy Lou
Oh, it's
Who.
Cindy Lou Who. Sorry.
She's not playing Moriarty or
Charlie's Angels, Lucy. Yeah, anyway.
that elementary girl.
Okay.
This
Hmm.
is pretty much exactly what I expected it to be. Completely harmless, but at the same time significantly lower quality. I think I remember I'm not sure how, I'm just randomly thinking. On IMDb, I said they'd probably cast someone like Robert Downey Jr. or Steve Martin. And Pharrell Williams as the narrator. Personally, in my opinion, makes this movie a big, huge snore. One one other thing to to some critics out there in internet university. No part of this is the same humor as the Big Bang Theory. I'm about to drop a little bit of a bomb. Just because a joke fails does not mean it's the same style as a sitcom. To further show on that, to show I'm not alone, what if I said the action scene was lame like an episode of Game of Thrones? I haven't seen that, I'm just speculating. For me, this movie is a meh rating.
Okay, we good?
Now it's time for you to talk, as equality you should.
I haven't seen the other Grinches. Just watching reviews and listening to him talk about it. It did need some more livelihood in it, not just like all the other animated movies of today and everything. But, I guess I have to see the original to make sure that that one is better than this one. So,
You should also probably see the Jim Carrey one.
yeah,
Y-
maybe.
The other one.
Maybe. Okay, so we're going to let you go. Did you want to give a clue about the next one?
First of all, I want to know your rating, maybe, of this one.
You know what? If you need a movie to watch, go ahead. Maybe watch the first one, but then you're not going to like this one. So, it's up to you. There's a lot of Christmas holiday movies out there, so take your pick. I don't think it was that bad, but he didn't play the Grinch like the usual Grinch, and um, you know, I don't know. It was festive, but yeah, I'm mediocre on it. So so.
This movie is on Netflix in case you just want to watch it for free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of tired of rhyming. I'm kind of I kind of think it's a little passe. What should we review next week? Friday.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think I'm trying to think what should we do more? How about something that a billion other critics have done before,
Okay.
but we haven't and but we haven't and we should fix that on Friday in a galaxy far far away.
Ooh.
Let me tell you
Oh,
one more
come on.
Let me say one more thing before I go blue. Subscribe to me and I'll subscribe back to you.
Good night.